It's Nat, and this is the first of the 3 tutorials I'll be making for Adobe After Effects. This one in particular will be less focused on an extravagant final product, as we're just learning the basics and getting our feet wet with the interface. Very basic tools and properties, as well as saving our work in the end. When you open up After Effects, it should look like this. The interface may be pretty intimidating at first, though it gets fairly easy to understand and maneuver. This right here is your project panel, which is where you import any assets you may use in your video, like images, video, audio, etc. To start off, you can click right here to do a new composition, or click this little icon that says new composition. A composition is essentially its own timeline with a specific ratio and frame rate, and has a collection of layers. So here we're going to create a new one, and here we can use standard options, so the width of 1920 pixels and a height of 1080 pixels. For the frame rate, you can keep it at 24, that's fine. The frame rate is essentially how many frames are in 1 second, so this is fine, hit OK. As you can see here, you have your first composition here in your project panel. And this right here is blank or black just because you have nothing in your timeline. And you haven't added any layers yet here. In this tutorial, we're going to be faking a camera movement called a pan, and then we're also going to do a zoom in, as if it was filmed like that in real life, panning from left to right and then zooming in. We will also add a title card to get to know more properties and so on. So to note, this works best if you use footage that is larger than the composition size. If you can't remember what you started with, you can go up here, click on your composition, and you can see that it's 1920 by 1080. So you want to find something bigger than those, that ratio. Now to import anything, you can drag and drop into here, or File, and then Import. Here I just have a water scene, and you can see it's 2560 by 1440, so that's evidently much bigger than this one. So all you need to do is drag it onto your timeline, which is right over here. Drag it on. And now you have it on your timeline. I'm just going to shift it over a little bit to get it at the start. The timeline is essentially your workspace for your video in terms of any manipulations you make to it. As you can see, if you look at your layer panel, you can see that the file you added is the first layer. This layer panel has all your layers where you can make adjustments within and move their order around once you add more. It's also important to use groups to be more organized right over here. I'm going to shorten this video to 10 seconds, so you just go over here until you see those little arrows and then drag it to about 10 seconds. At the same time, I'm going to drag the work area end and then also drag it to 10. Okay, now you can hit the spacebar to play it back. You might notice that my resolution is very low just because I have it set to that, because if I did full resolution, like here it's good quality, it makes it slower. So just for the sake of it not going slow, I'm going to put it to quarter. Up here you have your tools. Here's the selection tool, which you use most often, the hand tool to move around your workspace, the zoom tool, which is pretty self-explanatory. You could click to zoom in, hold option to zoom out, and we'll also be using the text tool today, but that'll be later. So we'll go back to your selection tool, and then down here you go to your layers, and each layer has its own basic settings within them. So when you click down this drop down, you will have something that says transform, and then click that again. So here you have a few properties like its position, scale, and opacity. For a pan, we'll be primarily using position and scale, though also you can use other ones when you want to do more advanced camera motion. But for now, it's just position and scale. So first we need to scale this up, and we're just going to go to the points of the box and drag it out. Now, as you can see that when I do that, it sort of squishes it. So we're going to undo using Command Z or Control Z. Every time I say Command, it's the same thing for Windows by using Control. So to stop it from squishing, you do the same thing but hit Shift at the same time, so it has a constraint. So making it probably around like, I'd say around here, you should be good. Now go to the position section and click on the stopwatch. This toggles the ability to change property over time in a timeline. And as you can see, it created this blue diamond on the first second, which is called a keyframe. And a keyframe indicates a frame in a timeline where something changes. Now once you've set your keyframe, you can move it all the way to the right, holding shift so you're on the same axis, but don't cut it off. Now drag your arrowhead to about 10 seconds. Sorry, I think I accidentally undid this. I'm going to go put this back to 10, and then bring this back to 10. Anyway, so at 10 seconds, you want to add another key point. And then on this key point, you want to move it the same, but the other direction, so all the way to the end. And holding shift again to stay on the same axis and don't cut it off. Now these two keyframes tell After Effects that at frame 1 the position is here, but then at 10 seconds the position is there. So as you saw, it automatically sort of gradually moves its position from the start to the end in the span of 10 seconds. So now if we play it, you'll see that it gradually pans to the right as if it was filmed like that in real life. If you slide the second keyframe to say like around 3 seconds, you're gonna see that the pan is much faster. Now because it takes less time to get from one position to another, the speed is going to increase. However, in most cases, a fast pan isn't as realistic, especially when you're shooting in real life, so we're just going to undo that and put it back to 10. Now I want to add a title card to pop up as we move to the right. And you can hide this just to make it easier for you. So now click your text layer and just click anywhere here. And as you can see, a text layer has been added over here. So you can type in whatever you want, but I'll put like pan to zoom, since that's what I'm going to be doing for the whole video. So you can change the color, but I'll keep it black. Go back to your selection tool to make it bigger. Let's actually zoom here a little bit, grab the boxes and use shift. Okay, that was a little bit dramatic. Now to align it perfectly in the center, you can go to these panels over here, go to align, align horizontally, and then align vertically. Now it's right in the center perfectly. Drag this little slider a little bit so you can see the 5-second mark. And I would sort of bring the text layer in and shorten it up a lot so you can go from 5 to 10 seconds, just like that. So now when you play it back, it'll pan to the right and then abruptly at 5 seconds should pop up. There you go. But I kind of want it to gradually sort of come in. So now we have to work with opacity. So here you just click down this drop down just like before, and then you go to transform. You want to set, going to click the timer at opacity. So now it created a keyframe. And here you want to do opacity at 0. And then at the end, you want to make the opacity, or add another keyframe, add another keyframe, and then this one go back to 100. So now, as it pans, the text will slowly show up. Okay, so now I kind of want to do like a zoom in, sort of like a pan, and then as the text pops up, sort of like start zooming in, like the footage will be zooming in. So to do that, we'll have to go on our footage layer, and then I'll hide this, go to our transform, and here you can put or turn on scale. So now you have a marker or a keyframe, at 5 seconds. And so then here we're going to keep it, but then at 10 seconds at the end you add another keyframe, and here we're going to zoom in quite a lot, or not that much, just a little bit. Okay, so about there should be good. So let's fit that again. So Just zooming in. Okay, you might notice something though. Play it back. I think it was a little bit too harsh, the jump from from here to here. I think it could be more gradual. So to change this, you can highlight the key points for scale and then go to animation, keyframe assistant, and then easy ease. As you can see that the blue diamonds sort of turn into these new shapes, and you'll see that that it'll sort of ease in better than before. It makes it more natural. Since you're manipulating footage to do a certain camera motion that wasn't existing, you need to make it look natural as if it was like that, you know, when you first filmed it. So this is all very basic, but it gets you more comfortable with the program in itself. So now let's just watch it and see if this is what we wanted. So it pans to the right, and it gradually zooms in, and it says pan to zoom. Now we have to export this. So you have to make sure that you're on your composition project file. So to export this, you go to composition, and then add to render queue, and see your timeline has changed. So keep the render settings, but change output module because lossless will just be a too big file. So click there, go to format options right here, and do Apple ProRes 422. That one should be fine. Hit OK. And also you can tell the program what you want to name the file and where you want the video to go. So I'll just name this pan to zoom. Hit save, and then hit render. So then you just want this blue bar to fill up and it'll be done. So there you go. Now you have learned some basics of After Effects and how you can fake different camera movement. You can use these basic concepts for other edits like a whip pan or a camera tilt up. It's honestly limitless. In the next tutorial, we'll try some more techniques. Thanks for watching.